and welcome everyone to EO Member Stories. My name is Faizan Sayed. I'm your Member Experience Director from the Mepa region. I've been a member for 10 years. My primary chapter is EO Karachi. And we have started this initiative because Member Stories has been one of the most successful events at a chapter level. And so now we want to bring this at a regional level and find unique stories that each one of you can learn from. And today, our first guest is Ghazi Al-Hajeri from EO Kuwait. He's been a member for over 8 years. He's in the entertainment business and he has a fantastic story to tell. How are you, Ghazi?
Hi, Faizan. Thank you. I'm doing very well.
Awesome. So how have things been for you? You were in the entertainment space. COVID came and the entertainment space for you required people to come and visit your spaces. That completely must have decimated business. What happened? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been really a very challenging moment. It's one of those days or one of those periods in your life where you reflect on things, and it's not always clear. What's going to happen tomorrow. So I always kind of went to bed thinking things will get better, and it never really did for a very long time. But somehow we survived.
Wow. And so what specifically happened when, you tell us a little bit about your business, and
Sure.
what did you specifically face and how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. So I started my entrepreneurial journey in the kids entertainment business. I started around 4 or 5 companies in the space, and that culminated to what I'm doing today, running a few trampoline parks here in the GCC region. So we are in Doha, in Dubai, Muscat in Oman, and here in Kuwait. And in process to open in Bahrain and other cities here in the region, in the GCC. The company is called Trampo. I started it with a partner of mine that is also EO member, and both of us really designed an organic brand, if you will, in the sense that we've created the brand ourselves and put everything together, and built these big trampoline parks, which I'm sure everybody has visited, either in the region here or in their own countries and towns. And we got off to a fantastic start. Excellent reception by customers. The profitability numbers were off the charts, and everything was smooth sailing until COVID happened. And that's when we had to basically fire 80-90% of our staff. The staff that remained, we ended up reaching an agreement with them to pay them half of their salaries, because we couldn't have maintained the company for such a long time without revenue, especially in our Kuwait branches, which ended up closing for about a period of 2 years, which is our main hub. And that was it. That was really the biggest challenge. Obviously, that in itself is a problem, but the issues that arise from something like that is crazy, right? So you have lawyers calling you, real estate owners calling you, staff, management, banks. We had financing in place, to finance our growth in other countries, which unfortunately started just as we were about to open our new branches, and then COVID happened. So we have all these investments and all this financing, but the cash stopped when we had to start paying off these loans, right? So it really at a very inopportune time, if you will.
And so when you had all of these people, I mean, you just laid off 90% of your workforce, right? And you had all of these people calling you, asking for an answer on when things would settle, when you would pay them, and there was no certainty around you. How do you deal with that amidst complete uncertainty? Because you had no answer.
Yeah, there is no answer. I think I moved into kind of different stages, right? Every morning you wake up, you're in a different state of mind. Even as the day progresses, your character and your your attitude and your mood changes every day depending on the phone call you have or how you got out of bed, right? So it's really, I took it day by day. The biggest challenge were the real estate owners, because they could end the contract, they could render you insolvent, they could take all of your equipment and throw it outside of the street, right? Fortunately enough, everybody was very understanding to varying degrees, and some of them looked at themselves as partners for us, because they were also eager for us to return, right? So the majority was like that, and there was a handful of real estate owners where it wasn't as easy to deal with, but I have to say the majority were very supportive. There were a couple of locations where we were actually in trouble even before COVID, right? So it was a challenge even before that, and that's where the issues really remained even after COVID and to this day. But all in all, I have to say, mentally speaking, was probably the biggest challenge. And I discussed with you this earlier. One way of kind of having this stress relief is to find something that you like, something that you feel comfortable. And I found my solace in a new sport for me, which is triathlon. So I started training very hard for endless hours of the day, waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning and just getting so tired that I couldn't deal with, I couldn't really get even more stressed, if you will. So that was kind of my reaction to all of that, mentally and individually speaking.
So your fitness binge and your health sort of streak and your focus on sort of these triathlons became your escape from this situation.
Yeah, I think so. I've always enjoyed endurance sports. I had played football before, so I wasn't, all new to fitness and in sport. But this sport required lots of hours of practice. I haven't really biked or swam so much. So for me, those were very new sports, and I had to get up to speed and had to catch up with the rest of the group, because we trained most of the time in groups. And that in itself created new relationships for me that get to know these people, and took my mind off the crisis that's brewing in the background. And as the months and the days and weeks and months moved on, the issue became bigger and bigger, right? Because we had bigger debts and bigger problems to solve. Fortunately, mentally speaking, because of my involvement in this sport, I was really able to kind of block things. Other than that, I'm part of EO, and our my forum.
So I was going to say, what role did EO and your forums play in sort of helping you maintain your sanity?
Yeah, so I think all of us, are pretty aware of how forums work, right? And forum health and the usefulness of a forum ebbs and flows depending on your state of involvement and engagement in the forum. So in the beginning, my reaction was I couldn't really, I didn't really want to deal with what's happening, so I didn't really mention it to that much in the forum. But as things escalated and it got tougher and harder, I found my forum and my forum mates to be very supportive, coming up with very creative ways and ideas on how I can go through this period, right? Whether it's how I am with my family, in my business, in my own personal struggle, just mentally between myself. So my forum buddies were really quite keen on that support. I think first of all, you have an area in a forum where you can just kind of go through the release and speak to your forum on a very confidential basis. But then once things started to get clearer, I had to kind of move to the technical phase where you had to be very creative, how to raise additional capital to recapitalize the company, how to solve relationship issues, whether we had a relationship with the mall or with a real estate owner, or even with our employees. So all of that really came into play, and the forum was very good in that sense. And in a lot of cases, even things that didn't really relate to my business, we went on a couple of forum retreats where it also helps you to disconnect and kind of see the forest from the trees, right? So when you're really
Right.
disconnected, you can kind of think with a clear mind. And I think I was really able to get the benefit of that in that period.
And if you were to ascribe, let's say, one thing you took away from your forum during this time, what was that one thing?
I would say just the mental support. I didn't feel I was alone. I felt like yeah,
Would you say that, so how is it different from the support you get from your family?
It's quite different because my forum buddies all had their own challenges. They were all in certain degrees of pain, going through some sort of challenge. Whereas obviously in a family setting, as a matter of fact, I didn't even mention it because you have other issues, right? Because you have your family to worry about during COVID, kids not going to school, they're online. My wife didn't take COVID really well, so all that was brewing in the family life. It was hard really to kind of even make it worse. So in a forum, you can kind of put your hand on where the pain is, and try to talk about it, or try to share experiences and have that type of support.
And in this time, so there's a lot of stress. You've taken on this new activity to try to keep yourself distracted. How did it affect your interaction with your family, and how did you manage that?
Yeah, I think when I was training, I was really away for very long periods of time. So that I would say was a bit negative. Having said that, as I got more into the sport, I think the family started understanding that I had to be in that state of mind, to kind of progress as an individual, right? And that also calibrated my life in a certain way that in the beginning maybe my family did not understand why, or why I didn't understand why I was doing that to some degree. But that I think was kind of the beginning, and then as things progressed, I think we kind of all saw the degree of the crisis, and how this challenge might be solved, right? Whether it's
Right.
getting a bunch of employees back to work that went on to work for other areas. So there was a lot of give and take, and common understanding. I think that kind of got me to a point where my family started understanding the issues that I was going through.
And towards the end, I mean, did things finally start turning around? I mean, where did things stand today?
Yeah, it happened slowly because each country was really regulating the COVID reopening experience differently, right? So we've got in areas where there was very friendly business environment, I would say like Dubai, things went back, I wouldn't say to normal, but to some kind of normalcy. Other areas where Kuwait and Doha, for example, were quite the opposite. Kids entertainment was considered the last industry to open because it was considered non-essential, like schools, for example. And on that front, there was really not a lot of governmental support. So we still had issues with cash flows, with real estate payment. So that was really kind of the big challenge. But we all knew that once it reopened, we would have a quite sharp recovery because there was so much pent-up demand, and you've seen it in other industries, right? There was so much pent-up demand that people will come and come aggressively and go back to these locations. So we opened finally in September of 2021, reopened Kuwait, which was our biggest market, and that put us back in profitability within 3 to 4 months. So all of the losses that we've accumulated over a year and a half period were all basically in a quarter or 2 quarters. Were all came back because of that, market reaction.
Got it. Interesting. And so I guess my concluding question in all of this is your biggest takeaway from this experience, what would that be? Is you look back at this 2-year journey, you transformed as a person, you got into endurance sport, you dealt with a business, a major business challenge amidst uncertainty. EO was your support system, your forum was your support system. When you look back, what is your big takeaway from the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway I would say is no matter how big the problem is, it's always small in the grand scheme of things, right? No matter, even if we ended up liquidating the company, the experience that any individual has, the knowledge, will eventually, bring you back to the level that you were with, right? Because businesses, open and close all the time, right? And they go through phases and they go through trends. The only thing that remains is the experience that you have. So I got to a realization that no matter what happens, even if we shut down and have all this debt and all of that, legal problems and issues that we might have had if we had liquidated the company, I would say that really gave me an insight that we could always bounce back from that. And because I went through that state of mind, I really felt almost like anything can happen. We can bounce back from that, and you kind of see that happen in other areas, but you can never imagine it happening to yourself. And going through it was almost like an out of body experience, because you look at how other people react to you, and they're kind of sorry for you, and you see that reaction, and you've been there before because you were on the opposite side of it, right? You've spoken to people that are going through challenges, and you're like, oh well, yeah, I feel sorry, but you never really know, how they actually feel. So now that I went through it, I feel definitely much stronger and much better. My forum, again, we all speak about forum experience and the challenges and the support system. I'm never leaving my forum, or never really leaving EO, because if had I not had that, I think I would be in a very different mental state and very different attitude, after that.
Amazing. I mean, what a great story. I think that's, inspiring to hear. I mean, I had something similar as well, and that's made me an EO convert for life, especially during the 2 difficult years that we had, and the support that you get from the EO network is fantastic. Ghazi, this was super. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for sort of being vulnerable and open about the journey that you've had. It sounds amazing. So